Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Zero Two podcast. I'm LT along with Catchy. Today, we talk Total War.
We've loved a lot of Creative Assemblies games, including Shogun 2, Rome 2, Rome 1, way back in the day.
Yeah, I think the first one we played together was Shogun 2, and I think you actually introduced it to me.
Yeah, that was an absolute classic. And
It's still one of the ones you can go back to and enjoy. It's
I
it's
played it
got really
single.
solid gameplay.
Yeah, I played it single player not long ago, and it still kind of holds up. The graphics not quite, especially after you played Warhammer, but the mechanics, the campaign map is really good.
So yeah, if you're not familiar with any of these games or the Total War franchise overall, they're turn-based strategy games with resource management and real-time battles. So the first Total War was released, I believe it was Shogun back in 2000, and since then they've released a lot of different ones. You range from the Shogunate to medieval to Rome. They've just recently done Three Kingdoms, which is based in China,
Yeah,
and more recently they've done, what was it, Total War Troy.
Troy. And they did a couple spin-offs. I think Troy was considered a spin-off and Britannia was considered a spin-off.
Attila was, I think
Attila,
Attila was a
yeah,
spin-off.
yeah, that was pretty well received. But yeah, mostly historical, but once they jumped into the whole supernatural fantasy aspect of Warhammer.
I think Warhammer just works so well because it has a ton of lore. Like there's a lot to explore.
There's a lot for them to build off of, and in the recently released trailer, they admit it's like we can't put all of this into a game, but we can build upon it and slowly introduce it. And of course, yes, new Warhammer has recently been announced, which is why we're talking about it.
Yeah, Warhammer 3, the final game in the trilogy. It's going to be based around taking the concept of your mortal realms facing the chaos realms.
Yeah, that's their whole thing. So the second game, it was the Vortex, and they introduced the Skaven and the elves and everything like that, or the High and Dark Elves. And this game, it's going to be chaos takes over the entire map, and I'll imagine a lot of what's come before. But yeah, essentially that.
I imagine so. I think they mentioned something about the new map for Warhammer 3 being massively increased over the scale of the Eye of the Vortex campaign.
Yeah, which is exciting. The trailer, which was released just today, or the live stream that featured some of the gameplay, it definitely ramps it up, which means you probably need a new PC if you played the previous games, I would say.
I think it's going to be resource heavy, definitely. Judging on the map, some of the maps in Warhammer at the moment is just really, really cool. They are some really incredible maps, but they are resource hungry.
Yeah,
The
very. Yeah.
Especially if you're playing on ultra, if you're playing on huge unit scale and things like that, you've got a lot going on your screen.
Yeah, you'll have to turn it down if you don't have some sort of beastly kind of computer going on.
But one of the coolest things I will say, I'm excited to get some new, more demonic units for the chaos.
Well, yeah, I'm excited for new units for everything, especially the Chaos. I probably played the Chaos most. I think they were the funnest, they were badass, and they came with the best units and lords.
I think purely because they are a horde faction, your entire existence relies on destroying the rest of the map, basically.
I like that horde that you don't have to defend anything, which is, well, not much less than you would otherwise. And yeah, I think it worked really well. Like it was kind of not the Sword of Cain, which is a massively powerful sword that if you played it, you know all about it. that you pick up. That worked really well in one campaign we did because it didn't take into account the horde the horde
Mechanic.
mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I am constantly surprised about how Creative Assembly consistently and throughout the years that this has been live um, have kept everything reasonably well balanced with regards to like units and things like that, damage, some of the economies for the different factions have already been changed.
Mm.
Um, we get a lot of new content through their updates, through multiple DLCs. How many DLCs has Warhammer 2 had now? They've
I would
had
not know.
they'd have to have more than
You'd
10.
have to scroll through Steam and just keep going and going and going. And to be honest, that's kind of prohibitive for a lot of new players, and it's kind of daunting if you
It
haven't
is,
kept
yeah,
up with it, like as they've been released. And
because
yeah,
you look at the cost of that as well. And
that's yeah,
unless there's a sale on, it can be pretty pricey.
gets down to like a bus driving simulator or a train driving simulator. You like get down there as triple digits of DLC. That's pretty daunting if you want a full experience and you haven't kept up with it. Which
Or
I think is yeah.
something like The Sims or Dead or Alive.
Oh, The Sims 4. That's not that I play that, but yeah, I've seen that. That's embarrassing.
One thing I will bring up, and I know you feel the same way, with all the Total War games, the day one DLC in relation to usually blood packs.
Blood packs and sometimes faction packs. In fact, I think for the original Warhammer, the first game in the Warhammer series, the Chaos were in fact a pre-order bonus, or you could opt to buy it as a day one DLC if you decided to wait for a review of the game.
Yeah,
God forbid.
they did the same thing with the little bit more recent Three Kingdoms, I think, with the Yellow Turban Rebellion. If
Don't
you
do that.
wanted,
Don't cut
yeah,
chunks of it out. No.
it's a bad way to do things. And Creative Assembly has already, you know, they've always done this kind of thing, but
They
it
know
doesn't.
all about it. They know that their fans and their consumers don't like it. They
They
know
don't
that. But
appreciate it. They don't. Yeah,
I
and
guess it's yeah.
usually the blood packs, okay, that they might not cost very much, but like realistically, you shouldn't have to pay for that.
You shouldn't have to pay for such a simple thing. And I mean, not that it's that important, but the whole thing is that yeah, it's not it doesn't bother us much to make it, but we have an underage audience or something or other. But yeah, the underage audience isn't going to be making any purchases on Steam, I wouldn't think.
No.
So it's kind of neither here nor there. But the new game, just they've showed us two different factions, and they've shown. I've never played Kislev. There's so many factions in the game. I've never played the German kind of
Yeah,
empire.
some of the more mortal and human factions are just look, they can be fun to play, but when you've got things like Skaven, High Elves, Dark Elves, you've got to make something about the human characters appealing.
I'd say some people really like them,
Some
but
do.
then it's like you're making a fantasy game. It's like if you're gonna make it kind of in a Lord of the Ringsy kind of way, you got to make the humans kind of interesting. Because if I'm playing a Lord of the Rings Total War type game, I'm playing the orcs and I'm playing all of that every time.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing here. Like, if, as I said, if you could be vampiric, you could be green skin, you could be high elf. Why would you want to be human? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
if you give them some really interesting mechanics and some really cool units and a cool play style, yeah,
Well, if in, I'd say a lot of people disagree, but personally, yeah, I think for you too. And I don't know, adding bears for Kislev, bear units, that does it for me. I'll play them.
the giant ice bear was
I
quite cool.
I want some bears. I will play for just the bears. That's an interesting kind of fantasy unit, and that makes it interesting.
And not only that, I think the mechanics too, because I think one of the most fun things as playing Skaven, um, is just some of the things that they can do, like infest cities and create under cities and things like that, and then eventually like blow up other uh, capitals and things like that.
Well, they are sneaky rats, and I enjoy them for what they are. And they're an annoying enemy in the same way that a sneaky rat is a sneaky rat.
So, what would be your favorite entry in the Total War saga, in the Total
Two,
War franchise?
Warhammer 2.
Warhammer 2, yeah,
I've put,
that's
we've both put hundreds of hours into that.
yeah. I think I'm close to like 800 hours roughly.
Yeah, I think I'm close to 700, which is enough to say, yeah, I've enjoyed this game. I can't possibly have a real negative
Yeah,
impression if I kept on playing it for that
and
long.
the other thing too, I'd add is we haven't played everything within that game yet.
No, we haven't even touched it. The amount of effort they must have put into making both the first, the second, I'm assuming the third game is immense.
And as I mentioned
Immense.
earlier, especially when you're playing like the Mortal Empires campaign, balancing that, balancing all the different factions, different units, that's got to be a nightmare.
But it took them the lifespan of the game after release to get that right as well. So
Oh yeah.
that's obviously a difficult thing to do.
So everyone, that's the wrap up on our Total War discussion for today. We're both massively hyped for Warhammer 3. Cannot wait to get our hands on it. I think it's going to be excellent. Really looking
Co-
forward to it.
Coming out in late this year, apparently, is all the news that's going on for that.
So on to other news. Dragon Ball Super. Now, we've just recently been released that we're getting a new film sometime in 2022.
Which is exciting. One reason, because it will make it to Australian cinemas, like Broly did,
Well,
which
Broly
is
did
great.
incredibly well in Australian cinemas, which
Yeah.
I'm happy with. Anytime an anime film does well, I'm happy.
Well, Demon Slayer made it massive, and it made it to Australian cinemas, and it made it to even smaller Australian cinemas. So wherever you are, you can see an anime film, and Dragon Ball will definitely come about into that category again, like Broly did.
Yeah. So, according to Toei Animation's announcement, the new movie will take place in the Dragon Ball Super part of the timeline, making part of the Dragon Ball Z sequel series. And we live for Z. We grew up watching Z.
A lot of people, everyone grew up watching Z, and it's just, yeah, everyone has such a soft spot for that. Even as ridiculous as Super gets, the actual series of Super, which I think it kind of detracted away, even though it's very much canon, away from Z, and I feel a lot of people feel the same about that.
I feel a lot, yeah, a few of the characters in Super could have been done a lot better, and I feel were done better in Z.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know why they made some of the choices that they did. I think it's odd introducing the new series already recapping the two films like Battle of Gods and Resurrection F.
Yeah, yeah,
And then going on from there, the stuff we got with like Universe 6 and the Universal Survival Saga. And I think that was cool because that was touching on new things. But to have it open up with a recap of basically two films that had been released earlier,
yeah.
I think I think that lended it to like a really slow burn kind of takeoff. Everyone wanted more Dragon Ball content, but then you release something that's recapping something we've already seen,
Well,
obviously in a little bit more detail,
that's
maybe.
kind of a cliche of just the last time on Dragon Ball Z, and that's like a fifth of the episode. I don't. No, I'm good with that. I know what happened.
This planet will explode in 5 minutes. 20
Yeah,
episodes
20
later.
episodes later, it's still exploding. I know it's exploding. I know all about the Spirit Ball. I know all about it. Just move on. But that's kind of a metaphor for a lot of the series. It's like it has to be that it's evolving constantly. Like I don't know. In my personal opinion, how many transformations can there be before it becomes kind of redundant? That's my impression of it. I
Yeah, I think yeah, and I agree with that. I think they rely a little too much in like an increase in power as a resolution
I,
instead of like fleshing out characters and a little bit maybe more of storyline.
I think for every major enemy there has to be this major power up, which is it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the first Super Saiyan whole thing where it happened against Frieza and Namek, I think Toriyama wanted to end it there, and that was kind of the ultimate form of a Saiyan, and he made it as that turned out to be. Oh, that's way too successful to you to just leave it at Frieza. So you need to go further than that. You need to be an Ascended Saiyan. And then you need to be 2 and then 3. And I don't know how many different incarnations of a next transformation there is.
Well, we'll look at it this way. We got GT after Dragon Ball Z, which introduced us to Super Saiyan 4, which I still stand by is a cool transformation, and it makes sense because it takes into account Uzaru, like the ape form of the Saiyan.
Yeah, yeah, which
I liked that.
played into it heavy, especially in the first season, second season, even third season, with Gohan and Vegeta and Nappa and Goku. They all had tails, and it was very much that played into the theme that they were an inferior race. They were monkeys, and but they overcame that. That was kind of part of the deal. That was their strength or something.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a cool transformation. But then we go like fast forward to Super, and you go to things like Super Saiyan God, where 5 pure-hearted Saiyans or whatever
Oh,
had to
Jesus.
transfer their energy to another, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. So the power didn't have to be earned; it could just be given.
There was
And
no.
then we get the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, which he just goes from red to blue, and it's a basic another
What
power
is
up.
that?
And
He doesn't look any different than he did in the first season. Ah, he's glowing a different color. Ah, he must be
I
much more
don't like
powerful.
the color palette swapping.
No, he has to look completely different. Like just bring back the giant ape that Vegeta went into, or something. It has to be distinctly different, more so than just longer hair, probably.
But that's what I liked about the Super Saiyan 4 transformation. They took on the fur of like their ape transformation and all the power and rage, obviously, but then like concentrated
It
it.
was very distinct. You could tell, and yeah, I didn't get so much into GT. I also didn't get so much into Super because I didn't feel it was on the. I'd say a lot of people agree it wasn't on the same wavelength as Z. It didn't have the same kind of 80s charm.
It def it definitely isn't, and I think one of the things from Z, and I know we both enjoyed Gohan more or less becoming, the head of the series going forward, and all of a sudden he's this badass fighter in Z. The Cell Saga obviously built him up, and he was good in the Boo Saga too. And then he's introduced into Super, and he's so weak.
No, it wasn't even.
He's
It wasn't even Super.
he,
It was Super. It was season 7. He just turned into like a nerd because his mum wanted him to be a nerd, and he gets a girlfriend, and he kind of just softens up, and then he's kind of.
he's 10 times worse in Super. If you haven't seen his character development in Super, it's bad.
He had a very badass thing going against Cell. I don't know why you just abandoned that to him being kind of a pussy, but alright.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. And as much as I love Goku and Vegeta, and they're always going to be the mainstays. But I would have liked to have seen some more characters get a little bit more of the spotlight, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I liked Vegeta as my kind of favorite character, and I think he got more screen time, which was good, but I think other characters might not have.
But then it's basically a meme. Vegeta is always trying to catch up to Goku, and Goku always just, eh.
I don't know. I like in general in anime, in general, like surprise me. So actually kill off a character. Actually let Krillin die or something like that. He doesn't come back, and it's like, oh, that's impactful. I think that's a good idea for anime.
Staying on that particular topic of impactful deaths, have you seen an anime called Akame ga Kill?
I've seen it. I've seen it on yeah streaming services.
Yeah, it's on Netflix at the moment. I watched it the other day, and like it's an anime, dude. Do not get attached to the main characters because they do not last long.
I don't know. That's good. I like some balls. Like have some balls in making a character, and then it's like kind of like Berserk. Like comes right to the end of that, and it's like, oh damn, that happened. He's
Yeah,
he's fucked up.
everyone you've been watching for the last god knows how many episodes, and you've gotten a little bit of their backstory, you've related to them a little bit, and then all of a sudden, bam,
But
done.
you've got
There's
something.
more. Yeah, there's more emotional investment
Yeah,
there.
but you got something like Z, and you're like, they're gonna be brought back because they got that whole Dragon Ball thing going on, and
That is the same problem I have with shows like Supernatural. Every time one of the brothers died, is like they find this weird, out there way to,
it's a
he's
cop
back in
out.
life.
It's a cop. It's like, oh no, we
It
can
is.
just magically do it. He's back. A
It,
wizard did it.
yeah, exactly right. And it takes all the, like I said, it takes the emotion and the investment that you have in it completely
If
out.
they can't die, then where's the tension? Really?
Yeah, what's the
And if
point?
you're watching a series and you're like, oh no, they might have the balls to kill a character I like. Don't, no, I'm tense. I'm invested in this.
Well, let's say the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Hmm. Oh, Game of Thrones definitely had that.
And it's so disappointing to see where it ended up. But before that went downhill, you get invested in these characters, and then you get scenes like the Red Wedding,
Mm.
where some of your favorite characters are just no longer there anymore.
That's yeah, that really get and that's possibly why so many people got invested in it. It's got something to it. It's got a lot of substance to it. Then you come to the final season, which I didn't watch, and
And
apparently,
you shouldn't.
and I shouldn't. Okay.
You shouldn't. You should just wait, another, 15, 20 years to, George R. R. Martin to finally finish the book, maybe, if he feels
Is he
like it.
gonna live for that long? Have you seen the dude? He doesn't look healthy.
I, yeah, no, I just, everyone is saying the same things, like, get your lazy ass and finish that damn
Well,
book.
we want your interpretation of it. We certainly don't want someone just like. I think he was really excited to just head on to the Star Wars project, the lead creative or director.
Oh yeah, D&D,
And
and that's what was so disappointing. Like they looked at this and went, we're done with this. Let's just this is a show that could have easily gone for another, and probably should have gone for like at least 10 seasons.
it needed that. It needed that. And nah, we're gonna go for Star Wars, and Star Wars was great, wasn't it? Yeah, everyone loved that. We're gonna
Yeah, but
move
the,
on
the
to something
funniest
else.
thing is, they had such a terrible reception of their final episodes, and everyone was like hating on them because they basically just rock bottomed to this incredible show. That basically they said, you know what, we don't want you now.
Mm,
Don't get your Star Wars movie for the moment.
mm.
They just put it on the back burner.
Yeah, back burner on a long timeline. Anyway, we're very very excited for what because we liked Broly, the latest film that was there.
Very good. And I'd go even further than that. I really enjoyed the first, legendary Super
Oh,
Saiyan
way
Broly,
back,
even,
yeah.
even though it's not canon.
Yeah. Well, it was brought in with most recent, wasn't it? It was brought into canon.
It was. So yeah, Broly is now officially canon, and that's purely because of the fans' investment in that character.
Because Toriyama didn't like him, I don't think, the creator of the series, that is.
I don't think so. No.
Didn't like him as a character. He didn't like Vegeta either, but he was popular, so.
So out of some of the old Z movies, what would be your favorite?
I think we both agree History of Trunks would be among the top.
I think History of Trunks is a fantastic anime film.
I think if you've seen the series or you remember it fondly as a kid and you may not have seen any of the movies, just go watch History of Trunks. That's a very badass film for Dragon Ball Z. It's a good anime film just in general.
Yeah, especially some of the earlier ones like, Tree of Might, World's Strongest, Lord Slug, those sort of ones. I think they were cool sort of offshoots, like one-offs.
Yeah, it was good to put in a movie format. Also, you didn't get last time on Dragon Ball Z. So.
Yeah. And then, the introduction of, Goku's father, and a little bit more about, Bardock, History of Bardock.
Bardock,
I think
yeah,
that was a
that
cool
was a
one.
cool a good character to bring into it.
Because it give you a little bit more of a view on the Saiyans and what they really were and how they operated before Frieza
Oh,
basically
it'd
annihilated
be
them.
really good to watch that before, which most people can't because they watched it when they were 10. But watch that before the Frieza saga, or like between the Saiyan first season, second season.
And I think we'd both agree our favorite seasons of Dragon Ball Z would probably be the Frieza saga.
Yeah, Saiyan saga I think was really good. They were prepping for this alien invasion to take them however many years to get there, and it's like, oh, they finally get there. It's like this is a big thing. And
Um,
also the original Dragon Ball. I didn't watch that much of it, but I know you watched all of it and you really liked it.
I did. I enjoyed it. I was somebody that watched Dragon Ball purely because I liked Dragon Ball Z so much, and I was introduced to it through Dragon Ball Z. I was like, okay, there's this thing called Dragon Ball. It's the prequel to Dragon Ball Z. I got to go watch that.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. It's definitely, I don't know, how would you describe it? It's not quite as, how would you describe it?
It's a little bit more maybe classical anime kind of thing. It's obviously for a younger audience, but at the same time, it's got some great characters and it gives you a little bit more of a look into Goku, Bulma, Yamcha,
Yeah,
Master Roshi, Krillin,
all
all the sort of OG
all the
characters.
characters that keep on throughout the series, and maybe you could have done away with Krillin or something like that, but you know,
Krillin's a lot cooler in Dragon Ball. I like Krillin.
I don't like Krillin. Nah, he can go. He can go.
But yeah, I really hope this the new film is as good and hopefully maybe even better than Dragon Ball Super Broly was because that was a great film and I hope they stick to 2D only animation.
Yeah, no 3D, or 3D used sparingly as like a background drop, not as like a main character design kind of perspective, because then it just looks like a video game and it looks cheap. I don't know. That's my opinion on 3D animation.
And it's really jarring and I found it jarring in Dragon Ball Super Broly when they cut from 2D to 3D animation and then back to 2D.
Hmm. Yeah, that don't even 2D, like drastically different animation styles, like it's jarring and it takes you out of what you're watching just a little bit. But especially 3D, which could be said of all the Berserk movies if you watched any of those.
Yeah, and even the new series that was horrible.
Hmm. Looks terrible. But that's our hopes and for the new Dragon Ball movie that's coming out, and that should wrap up our third episode of the 02 podcast. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode coming soon.